Most players think movement is about speed, which is why they fall apart when things get chaotic. Today I'm not teaching movement, I'm teaching control under pressure. Speed without control is just panic. I'm breaking down the method behind the movement because precision is what actually wins gunfights. I've selected 3 killing sprees, and I'm going to show you dozens of pro-level movement decisions inside each one. This is the Escape Artist system. The same ideas that take you from bot-level movement to calm, intentional maneuvers in real fights. Before we begin, let's start with the basics. Watch this carefully. This fight is the entire movement strategy in under 10 seconds. This is the bait. I get surprised by an enemy on the roof. I'm close to him, but not close enough to commit because he has a power position. My goal isn't to fight him, it's to disappear from his vision and pull him forward. Force the overreach. As soon as I break line of sight, I move again. This creates the blind, he loses information, and that loss forces a chase. At this point, most players get more aggressive because they're already committed and they want the kill. Finally, the bail. This is where most players ruin their reset. Instead of matching his aggression, I bail right. I'm not running away, I'm resetting the fight on my terms. Timing is everything to achieve this. Now he lands confused, overextended, and late. He thought he was pushing scared prey, but he ran straight into a prepared trap. This movement isn't speed, it's a sequence of decisions to win a gunfight through defensive movement, even when they have first shots and better position. So the number one reason that fast movement fails is the lack of control. And the only way to improve that is to change the number one problem with fast movement, which is overreaching. And that involves leaving cover too quickly and overexposing yourself to multiple enemies and not being conscious of your safety. So how do we fix that? I have 3 separate clips and 3 separate techniques that you can do to improve your movement simply by making cover and information more important than speed. The first one is called the slither. By design, the slither is the most dangerous. It's a serpentine motion designed to maximize the maneuver around cover between enemies. We're still going to use the bait to draw enemies in, but we're going to isolate them by faking in certain directions and then changing direction at the last moment. In this situation here, we have 2 enemies approaching us from the door. We are deflecting them off of their entry by putting multiple rounds in them. We are letting go of the trigger and pointing in the direction of the doorway. If you notice, their movement reacted directly to my movement. As soon as I moved, they went the exact direction. I faked to go in the right direction, and then I immediately fell back, went to another point of cover. At this point, if they're not paying attention to the resurgence ping, I have limited my visibility. I'm now going to change my location, and their cutoff route is in the hallway. So at this point, I'm already making a plan that after I drop this enemy, I am leaving this location. It is an awkwardly aggressive fight. Once they are eliminated, I am gun gaming my way out of the situation by picking up a new weapon because I don't have time to reload, changing that location around, and I can hear the slide behind me. So what I'm going to do is continue the slither around the room. I'm going to break the window and then swing back, and as soon as I do, I'm able to bait their chase directly into that audio cue. They're hearing wood footsteps around the outside, I'm bashing the window, and they are immediately pushing that information. That level of aggression is how you separate enemies, by simply changing your position to isolate them one at a time. Let's continue the weave through cover. We weave inside and then swing back. We are constantly isolating the back side of the area. Notice here that I'm getting tracer rounds from a teammate on the right-hand side, which tells me that there is an enemy on my left. Audio cue behind. Weaving back into the room. And what this technique does is it stops us from running straight down the hallway and catching a clear shot from an enemy while also confusing them through audio cues. we're able to drop that enemy and stick the res while retaining a resurgence ping that has an up arrow. We'll continue that res, audio footsteps staying right behind the door. There's no reason to leave in this position. And we're going to continue off the door set back out to the side. Once again, tracer rounds from the side. Now moving up to the top of the boat, we see 2 enemies in our direct line of sight. We're going to knock one and then move to the other side of the staircase. Very important to change positions before you re-engage. 3 enemies on the roof. There is no reason to stay there. We are going to fall back to the other side of the boat, which gives us valuable time to reset our plates and ammo. We now move to the top of the adjacent staircase, stay on the side where the cover still is, and we now have a clear line of sight on the stage for the entire top of the boat. Instead of pushing that blind, we change that location and then work our way up. Sliding through the smoke, making sure that we are checking every corner and weaving in and out of that area because you never know who's hiding. Corner resets are an underrated skill set when it comes to resetting your gunfights, and I can't stress it enough, especially players that drop control on Rebirth or on Mansion on Haven's Hollow, which I have a clip for that here in the 3rd example. Find yourself a nook, minimize your footstep audio, reset your plate and ammo, and get back in the fight. The most important part of this maneuver is never stay in the same place for 2 kills, because you will see how fast enemies will push one particular area just based on the audio of the gunfire alone. Prioritizing targets is very important with this technique because you're going to get surprised when you're moving this much, and you're also going to get landed on. So make sure that you are focusing 100% on those gunfight resets and what is the most important target for you at that given time. Now with example number 2, we're going to practice something called the stir. This is where we do a circular motion around a much smaller POI with less cover, but we do something called trailing. I've heard it called training, like in zombies where you're pulling a herd together. My entire concept, though, is to take last known position and turn it into false information for your enemy. What I mean is, after you kill someone, their teammates get a skull on where they just died. They also get pings and audio cues and comms that there's a guy over on our loadout. What you want to do is change that location and rotate around the outside to bring those enemies to where you last were to now have a new vantage point. And you're going to see what I do here as I solo push 4 players in barn. I break one, call my UAV, and I have a team of 4 in this area. I also have 2 more teams on the other side of zone and a collapsing zone. So in this situation, I have 8 or 10 enemies pushing in my direction. This is not a great place to be bobbing and weaving for long times trying to get free kills. We need to circle enemies and then manipulate their information, and I'm going to show you what I mean. The most efficient way is to push your power position first, get your audio cue, and then take advantage of those mantle ups at the top of the steps. Those headies are very powerful, but while you're doing this, you need to be reflexing your eyes directly towards that mini-map upon the kill. I already know there's 4 players in the area, and one of the things that you can do to anticipate better movement is to understand the necessity of reaction. And in this situation, I know that I'm going to drop one and I'm immediately going to gather new intel and change my position. The information that I'm pulling from the minimap is going to directly dictate which direction I move to. I drop him. There are 2 enemies downstairs. And if I were the enemy team and I saw the skull go live upstairs, I would immediately be pushing that ramp and around the corner to my position. I'm going to take this smoke as a screen and get off this floor. I hear the audio cue to confirm my presumption. I mantle over the edge and I catch the guy rotating for the pinch underneath, and I have time to take him out. At this point, I have 2 pings remaining, and I'm continuing to circle the POI. Remember, I'm going back to where I last left their information. I see 2 dots inside the barn, one on my level and a teammate on the upstairs where I killed the first enemy. I'm going to be in a 2v1 scenario. I'm going to plate and then take that information and ego chow that immediately. Prediction. I am looking at the body where I killed the first enemy, and this is where they are. This is hands down one of the easiest tips to start implementing in outnumbered scenarios is farming your first kill's body. And what I mean is change your position, circulate and reset your gunfight, allow the enemy to push into this last known area, and then surprise them from a different direction. Complete and utter confusion is what they got here, and they were not looking at the zip, which was the fastest line to get back into their position, and then some recoil control and some strafing into cover was all that was needed to win that fight. Here at Mansion, we have our final tactic for the pattern, and this is called the swing. Now, there's close range swings, which a majority of you are very familiar with, but today I'm going to teach you how to do a 4-angle fight on a locked down team. This room is easily the most annoying room on Haven's Hollow because players will hot drop Mansion and they will hold down the room that has the most boxes on the roof. This room has dirty headies, and it is extremely hard to push into because there are multiple boxes for players to hide behind, plus all the corners and behind the doors. The last thing you want to do is solo push this room, and I'm going to show you how I pull them apart by using environmental movement to provoke them out. In this motion, I've now broken one player and drawn them back to the side. So this is a bait and a blind tactic, but now I'm ready to bail sideways, which is a very basic camera break. I'm going to start that back over. Now, once I break a player from this room, I'm anticipating a push from their teammate. I'm going to move out of the way because I've already executed my bait and I hear a left side slide. When you hear that audio cue, you are being pushed. And what a lot of players will do is they will stay in cover and wait for the push to occur, and you're leaving too much to chance. The aggressor is going to have the advantage in this situation, so I'm going to act on that information as aggressively as possible, but I'm going to do it through a simple camera break. Very simple maneuver. I'm going to time their arrival, and I'm going to push out, switch my weapon, and slide. And this maneuver is so common for players to execute poorly because they do not practice this. So this is something that you need to practice over and over again. I have an entire video dedicated to camera breaks from a few months ago. I will leave the link down in the comments below. It is extremely easy to execute once you learn the timing, the distance, and then the tracking that goes along with it. It is very surprising to enemies. What you need to do though is after you have executed that swing is be ready for players to react to it. Canceling your slide is a short swing, and you need to be able to come to a corner and cancel that maneuver instead of overreaching that cover. And I see a lot of players that get hyper when it comes to your camera break that they are now wide swinging every corner and you don't know if there's 3 guys there or 1. So stopping your slide directly at the edge of cover so that you have a shorter distance to retreat if necessary. You can also shoulder for information much easier because you're closer to the lineup. Once you thirst your player, be ready for the change in retaliation. I'm immediately re-pushing this player that came down. I'm not able to get successful shots on them, but I'm able to react better because I'm staying close to cover. So your swings can be close, they can be far, but you need to manage them based on the information that you have. Once you get free of that area, you need to be ready to fight players that are mad at you. And that's the big thing here is after you've killed 1, 2, or 3 different enemies, they tended to communicate and start to assemble together to take you out, which is where the beginning of the stack happens. And this is where wide angle or 4-angled fighting comes into play, is I'm not allowing their formation to take me out. I want to rip them apart one at a time. So the easiest way to do that is to move away. Continually create bait scenarios with the blind, but then know your map, and you have to be able to push with information. I know that this zip takes me to the other side. I anticipated that they were holding this down based on the information that they're holding the room to my right. Now, what's important here is that when you swing, you don't overcommit to this fight. If there had been more than one enemy here, I would have immediately jumped back down. There's absolutely no way you're going to win a fight with 2 enemies holding the top of the zip. That said, he was solo and I'm able to hold my own in a 1v1. I'm able to get one out, but then I am getting out of here. Looking at the mini-map, I still have 3 dots in the vicinity. All 3 of them are upstairs. I'm looking at the information, and now I'm rotating from a 3rd angle to push that roof, which is the backside zip. Once again, they're now looking at the far right-hand side. So my enemy is here. I've now engaged from here on the steps, from here at the top of the zip, and I am going underneath them to the backside, and I'm going to engage from this side. On the way, I'm going to get some free information with the UAV. I'm getting confirmation that there's 4 on my level. I see valuable pieces of information because I was just fighting at this door, but I made it to the other side, which is not their focus right now. Respecting the fact that that swing comes at a price though, because I've now given information with my gunfire. But if you look at the minimap, these guys are still holding their exact same position. So we have 1 in the room, 1 in the last room, and then 1 right here on the roof that is now holding me. All on my level, no arrows. It is not a good place for me to push because they are going to push this tiny little generator that I'm standing behind. But this is what I mean where you have to get comfortable disengaging from the fight. And if you watched any of my game sense guides, you will know that my tagline that I love to push new players and experienced players is learn your nope moment. This is not a fight that I want to stick around for, and I'm going to continue resetting this over and over again at Mansion until I get what I want. Going to stem for better movement, back up and hit the window head on, and then move back down to the bottom. I'm the last person alive, and that's something that's really important here is that if I had not had the instinct to get out of that situation, I would have been the last person on the roof in a 3v1 bad positional situation, and the game would have been over. Pop those boxes to get yourself in on your gunfight reset, and then get into position for your next push. These are all the real movement tactics that nobody talks about. Is your map navigation and your cover management with your choke points all come together to make a better movement systems. And it doesn't matter how fast you are. If you rely on luck and getting into perfect situations all the time, you're going to get killed more often. I'm now going up to the far side of the dome, which is another hot zip, and I'm getting gunfire. So I'm going to hold that angle, and I'm waiting for someone to mess up. He chows it. I knock him. That's 2 different skins. It's time to leave. Turn, put the blind spot to your back right, and take the shortest distance off the roof, which is what I'm doing. 3 dots down below, what are they going to do? They're going to see that the skull is on the roof. They're going to zip to the top. In that time frame, I'm gone. I'm not there anymore. I'm leaving to go downstairs to push a completely different area, and I'm even going to throw a streak on it to keep them off my tail. These are the tactics that you need to do to change the information that enemies have, because I've already got 8 kills in the first 2 zones of the game by simply holding better tactics on the roof. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like, comment your favorite route pattern, the slither, the stir, or the swing. Guys, don't try to be the fastest player, try to be the smartest player. Keep building, keep adapting, sit rep out.